The following lecture by Yogi Amrit Desai was recorded at the Kripalu Ashram in Sumneytown, Pennsylvania on May 3rd, 1986.
Our whole life, as I see, is an experience of relationship in one form or the other. There is hardly an experience without some form of relationship issue involved in it. Either it is a relationship with ourselves or someone else. We go through the same problem. When one part of us is not in agreement with other part of us, we are having relationship problem, which we all have. One part of us wants one thing, another part wants another thing. One part of us says, get up and do the exercises and get in good shape. Other part says, no, stay in the bed. One part says, eat good and healthy food, don't overeat. Other part says, enjoy yourself. This is the only chance you have. As if this was the last chance. So we really don't have a problem of relationship with other people as much as we have with our own self. And when we find a really tough time living with our own self, we really start looking for someone else to make us feel good, that we couldn't make feel good to ourselves. If we were in good harmonious relationship, lived in peace within ourselves, we would be in a good relationship with everyone. But not being in good relationship with our own self, we can't be in good, healthy, happy, joyful, fulfilling relationship with anyone. Because every relationship is a reflection of our relationship with our own self. That is why the issue of relationship, whether it is revealed through our relationship with someone else, or with the world around, or with other people, it's basically a reflection of what's happening within us. Unless you love yourself, you can't love anybody else. Saint Francis's prayer. Is there anybody who remembers? You remember. Okay. Why don't you repeat whatever portion or all of it? Because that's, to me, is the most beautiful expression of how love works, how relationship works.
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. For it is in giving that we receive.
That's where the real thing begins. You can do all those things unless in giving we receive. And we cannot give what we don't have. That's what it is. Can you give me something that you don't have? Can you give me a flower that you don't have? Can you give me understanding that you don't have of yourself? Can you forgive me when you can't forgive yourself? This is what is the relationship problem. Okay, a little further.
It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life.
Right. Thank you for sharing. So it is in giving that we receive, but I go a little further, that unless you have, you can't give. Forget about receiving. So first thing is, Whatever you want to give, you must have first. If you want to give love, you must have a capacity to love yourself. If you want to give kindness to somebody else, if you are really hating yourself and very frustrated with yourself, and you are self-rejecting and you are self-doubting, how can you, is there any room for you to love anybody else? All your energies, attention, is all consumed in self-rejection, self-doubt, fear. There is no room for loving anybody else. Love thy neighbor as thyself. The condition is love thyself, and then you can love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's the first condition. It's not said clearly, but that's what it means. So whenever there is any conflict that comes up in relationship, the only way you can truly solve it or resolve it, when that issue, that problem, that pain, that suffering that comes in the relationship, you are willing not to blame the other person and also not blame yourself. And also be willing to see that most of the problem that you see as a problem is your seeing. It doesn't have to be the way you see. And if you are in fear, that you enlarge the problem and see it bigger than it is. If you are in fear, you create the problem even when it is not there and you see it. So just because you see the problem, it doesn't have to be there. But if you see problem, yes, it is definitely in the one who is seeing it. That is definite. The other one is not necessarily true. This is why there is room for enlightenment, that when a person becomes free, he sees no suffering. He doesn't see the other is the cause of his problem. He feels free not because everybody else is transformed, but his eyes, the way of seeing is transformed. And that is the transformation. The beauty is in the eye of a beholder. And so when you have the beauty of love has been awakened in your heart, when you see beauty. Even when others see the ugliness and disharmony and great problems, your eyes see a love and beauty and harmony. And by seeing it, you create it. If you see the fear, if you see it through the eyes of the fears, you create external conditions just precisely in the way you fear. And then you begin to believe that, see, I was right. I'm glad I was afraid, otherwise I would have been in trouble. So then ultimately, all relationship issues are not out there, even though the other may be instrumental in bringing it, in surfacing the problem that is already lying, hiding within you, the fears and insecurities and attachments that may be already within you. The other person, and particularly the one whom you love very much, becomes invariably instrumental in surfacing what is already within you. But nobody has a power to instill in you the problem that's not already there. Nobody can do that. They can be catalytic agent to bring it on the surface. That's about all anybody can do. So responsibility is precisely our own for whatever it is that happens to us and nobody else's. And taking such a responsibility gives us the authority and a power to change our life. As long as you are blaming somebody else for what is happening to you, you are giving away that power that is yours and saying, now you are controlling my life. As soon as you say, you created this problem for me, we are also saying, without saying, that now you control my life. This is basically the problem in relationship. It's always an issue in one form or the other that I want to control my freedom. I want to be able to do what I want to do in my way. You better not interfere. And then you give up your freedom so that I get mine. And that's the demand. They both have from each other. No wonder there is no solution to such relationship where the demands are so heavy from each other and where neither one of the two is willing to recognize what is it that the other really wants. And if you be the first one to recognize what they really want, rather than listen to the secondary manifestations of feeling rejected or not in control, and be willing to give it, you would find that you will resolve relationship issue much more easily. Much more easily. Because it is other person is afraid that they will not be able to have you in the way they want you to be for them. We are not wedded to a person, we are wedded to our expectations of that person. And when the expectations, when we have a hope of getting those expectations fulfilled, until then our relationship continues. The moment either the expectations are not fulfilled and also the hope of getting them fulfilled in future is gone, the relationship gap begins to take place. We think we are married to another person. Other person is only a vehicle through which we see the most possibility of getting everything that we like. We select the right kind of person. And if our attachment is to just the face beauty, or a body beauty, or a money beauty, or the whatever attributes they have, we get attracted to that person for that specific character or quality that they may have. And that attraction for one area could be so overpowering that we are not willing to see all other aspects of that person's life and personalities. Because that one area that you like so much is so blinding that everything else blocks out. And then, when you actually begin to live life with such a person, then of course that attraction, that focus on particular aspect of that person's personality or appearance or possessions, by and by diminishes, because mystery is only when you can get to it, right? The mystery is the attraction, let's face it. As soon as you have it, you don't want it. So the relationships get more attractive when you can get to it. That is why when you can't have it at all, the dreams are the sweetest. The fantasies are the sweetest. And when you come closer to it, you find not the other person, but you find yourself whom you never wanted to meet with to begin with. Actually, the relationship was a trap just to avoid yourself, the pain that you are facing in life. And when we use relationship as an alcohol, an addiction, to ease the pain that we are already having. And so that which is adopted as an escape when it begins to reveal us all that we are trying to escape from, can you imagine the pain? Could be many times more. Particularly the source from which we are trying to find the solution of our problem. Not only that, but great pleasure. When the pleasure is absent and the problem is not solved, can you imagine the degree of frustration? Because when you lose the pleasure, you feel really bad. But when you lose the source of cover-up of pain also, it is losing that much more of a security. Reversing the same thing, that when we are having some really pain in relationship, and we meet another person, another man, let's say, that man is definitely attractive because, first of all, it's a new relationship. You haven't yet gone through all the personal relationship issues. So first of all, that person is very attractive because he's new. You don't know. And he is more attractive because he's also relieving you of the pain that you are having in the previous relationship. So that makes an added attraction in that person. That person maybe, if you were having a really wonderful relationship, that person may not be as much attractive. But it attracts double attraction. Because one, that he helps you to eliminate the pain, and he also gives you the false promise of pleasure and comfort. It's a game, really. You have, in order to win it, you have to be very aware and conscious all the time. Because your mind, when it plays, you play games with your own self, you never win. Because who wins? When two of your arms fight with each other and cut up each other, who is the winner? Nobody wins. So the practice of yoga is really basically focusing and always on not changing another person. See, and whenever there is a conflict and problem in relationship, almost everybody invariably attempts to change the other person in hopes that when they change, their life will be happy. I mean, how can you expect that other person to change according to your wish? First of all, you don't even know what it is that you want to see change in them, let alone them knowing what you want to see change in themselves to fit your needs. We don't even know what it is that we want. What we want changes so often that that person would be always in confusion. What do you want of me anyway? Now, haven't you heard that question every time? So they don't know what to change. But the only one person, if at all there is any possibility of knowing what you need to change and have a real capacity to change, it is only you. It's only you. And when you change and provide them what you are demanding of them, when you are capable of providing precisely what you are demanding, your relationship problem will be solved almost instantly. But we are so good at demanding, we forget of providing. That's our problem. That's a relationship problem from the beginning to the end. It's not the problem that you can't explain your position very well. And when you explain very well, don't they say, honey, what language are you talking? I don't understand what you're talking about. They don't want explanation. They want security. No wonder explanations don't communicate anything. So if you take a course in communication, it won't work. You can cover up the issue temporarily, but not ongoingly. The only way to solve the communication problem is to really understand what is it that you like to have from them. How would you like them to behave with you? And then see if you can behave precisely that way for them. You be the first one to give up and let go and be fearless. And perhaps if you let go too much too suddenly, probably they will doubt and they won't believe. So let go a little bit, fight a little bit, let go a little bit, fight a little bit, so they believe in you. And then when they are really sure that you mean it, and they will test you again and again, and you are likely to miss out somewhere along the way, and you get back to your original way of dealing with it. But if you invariably continue to show your real intent to love them, and nothing behind the curtain going on, when they see that, you would see that they will give up everything, all defenses, and then you don't have to use any explanations. They will give themselves 100% in your hands and say, honey, my life is yours. You do whatever you say. This is my bank balance, and you manage it. And you do this, and you have it. That's what they want. They want somebody whom they can trust 100%. But their trust, it has to be on their terms. Well, that's the tough part. Your ego, your insecurity won't allow you to give up that facility to really let him be the winner. And if he wins, then I'll be controlled for the rest of my life. Not that you don't want to do favors, not that you don't want to love them, but you don't want to get them used to getting their way all the time. That's the problem. Because once you are married, with a girlfriend you can let go, with a friend you can let go because you know that that's not a lifelong issue. But with a loved one, with a marriage, the same issue, you would be so stubborn, you will never let go. Because you know once you let go and let that habit form, you know that you lost it forever and ever. That's what the mind says. And ever. See, that is why the same issue that ordinarily you are not so stuck upon and you let go, in the relationship after marriage becomes so strong that people don't even understand that they got married with the same person. But then the issue of lifetime begins to come in. Every issue is dealt in a totally different way. That's not the same person you married. Because they feel insecure. They want to maintain their freedom. They want to have their freedom and have the love both. It doesn't work. You have to let go of your ego and insecurity and your insecurities in order for the love to come in. And you have to be the first one to give in. Those of you who have been in the relationship workshop may have some sharing and questions and real situations that you can visualize that how do I deal with this. So please feel free to come up and share. Yes, please.
My concern at this time is, I guess the question that has been asked many times, and that is how do you divide your love with God and with that special person? Because I always thought I knew what my romance or love with God was, that I felt I had that type of relationship or love and feeling. And
can I answer just quickly?
Yes.
So this part, and I want you to just be here and continue the question later on. When you said, how do I distinguish the love for God and my loved one? See, there is, your loved one is you, and God is also you. Even though God is everywhere and loved one is out there, but it is the expression of your love for your own higher self, which is God within you. Only when you have learned to love that part of you, not the selfish part, but that divine part, that does all the good things, that raises us to the higher and higher level of consciousness to experience the pure love, rather than love of attachment and dependence. When we begin to love that part and do everything that nurtures that part, we are all actually worshipping God and loving God. And we are also loving the loved one without ever seeing that person. So suppose you were 6 months away and you were loving yourself and you were feeling so good about yourself and you are feeling more and more at peace within yourself and you never saw your loved one for 6 months. You are actually getting closer and closer and closer to that loved one. And when your relationship begins, you will have less and less and less conflict because you have learned to live with yourself and be at peace with yourself because you have loved God, because you have loved your own higher self. That's how I see it.
That kind of answers the other question. I mean, the other part, because, I was taught and I believe that we are either God or part of God in some special way. And I thought that if you love self too much, that you will detract from that part of you that is connected to God or is God.
If you love yourself too much, see, that is one thing that is the basic confusion. So your question is very appropriate. Loving yourself, that's why I define what is loving yourself. Loving that part of yourself that is universal, and that is sharing, and that is giving, and that is also receiving, but only receiving not by demanding, but only if it comes as a grace. So that is the part when you love more, means nurture more, then you love God, because God is coming through that higher consciousness, the love, for example, love, faith, trust. So if you begin to live in such a way your own life that develops faith in your own self, trust in your own self, love for your own higher self, then you are really developing all those qualities through which you recognize God, and not out there, but within yourself. So anything that you do that develops your love, faith, trust is not selfish, even though it appears to be you are doing something for yourself. So that is what the loving God within yourself. And anything that you do for yourself, for example, you enjoy eating, and if you eat and it looks like loving yourself, but it is against the natural laws that make us unhealthy and thereby create that disharmony and spirit all around and make everybody else unhappy because we don't feel good, then that is selfish self, serving the selfish. Or any act that separates us from the others by taking advantage of others, deceiving others, or showing others differently than who we are is selfish. Because the selfish self is always trying to get rich or get more of what it likes by taking advantage of others in one way or other, and thereby creating separation. And universal law says we are all one. And another level, if we create separation, that is the act of selfishness. So any act that we do apparently for ourselves, like if we are sitting and meditating, but that meditation brings us to the awareness that we are all one in its direct realization, then that's the act of love, even though it looks like that selfish man who is sitting in his room all the time, not even doing any social work. What good is he doing? That's how superficial we have become. Like I told somebody, I said, my guru is meditating 10 hours a day. And he thought that was the most selfish act. He thought that he's not doing any social work. See, their consciousness is that only thing that you can do externally on a social level is the only selfless work that you are doing. But anything that brings internal harmony is the work that looks like selfish and exclusive, but it is selfless.
Well, in my relationship, when things are going well for me, that's when I guess I can believe that I love myself and that I'm beautiful inside and out. And as soon as something goes wrong, or as soon as I think something's going wrong, I project all kinds of things, and I become immobilized with fear. I become insecure, and I get real panicky. And it's been an issue with me, and I just don't know how to handle it.
See, you feel insecure and panicky, which is the first reaction. But if you learn every time there is a conflict that comes up, that you take on the charge to not to hurt the another person. See, whenever there is a conflict that comes up in relationship, we want to let the other person know that we are hurt, and we let them know by hurting them and say, how do you feel? And look, you are ignoring me. So at such times, when in the hurt situation, if you try to hurt another person, you are actually hurting yourself. Every time you want to relay the message of how it feels to you, by making them feel that way, you have to rehearse and feel emotional and create a dialogue in your own mind. When he comes home, that's how way I'm going to tell him, and he better listen to me. And you're going to create as sarcastic words, as obnoxious as you can get, or as clever words so that he can make two meanings out of it, and let him have it, and yet you have out of it. Whatever way, we are very clever sometimes. And when we do all these things in our own mind, what we are doing is we have to feel hurt just to check out how we want to make him feel. And before we transmit the print to them, we are stuck with the original of everything that we want to transmit. So if you really love yourself, you will never even think of hurting anybody else. And thereby, once you begin to learn that art of, as much as possible, prevent your mind from thinking angry thoughts, emotional thoughts, going on and on. And yet, when I'm saying this, yes, you would have still again human reaction. You'll be upset. But as soon as you can grab hold of it, try not to see negativities of the other person. See why did they do what they did, and see their intention, because they are tense, they are having problems, they are feeling unhappy, their expectations are not met. Whatever else you can find, trying to find the reasons why they behave the way they behave, rather than tell they want to hurt me. It's too simplistic. It's never that way. When you are upset with the other person, are you just there to hurt them always? No. That's not at all the reason. Sometimes what you're trying to tell them is, listen to me or pay attention to me. So also the other person does. And yet, when we are guilty, we say they are trying to hurt me. That's how simple we make. And that simple just makes everything so complicated that nothing we do comes out right after that. So first of all, be nice to yourself when you're upset. The only way to be nice is not to think of any hurtful thoughts towards anybody, as soon as you can. And as soon as you recover your original anger spell, then start writing all good things about the other person. The time, the days when you first met, and all the goodness that you saw, that's the one you must write about. And how many different ways they were nice to you. The original time when you got stuck with him.
Well, Guru Dev, I think I have conquered the fact of blaming somebody else. What happens is I'm very hard on myself, and I blame.
See, that's why I told you in the beginning, either blame others or yourself, you lost.
Right. I think I blame myself lots of times, and I'm very hard on myself because I don't want to blame
You don't
anybody
have
else.
to, because whatever reaction that came from you was circumstantial at that time. It was already there, it is on the surface, but it is not something new that wasn't there. And so, if it is already there and if it is on the surface, it's not for you to be upset about. If you defy yourself then you get stuck with it. Because now you have an added negative part, that the past negativity came on the surface, now added the fresh one by hating yourself or blaming yourself. Now you are adding more rather than reducing what you had. So at that time, you just either go for a jog, or take deep breaths, or take a cold shower and scream in the shower, or take a car and ride and roll up the glasses and scream somewhere. Do something to change your energy and change your thoughts.
Thank you.
But don't believe in those thoughts. And sometimes you may want to experiment. Write everything that you think about at that time. And when you are calm and a little more objective, read it. You'll find out that you were absolutely insane. And in that insanity, you don't want to tell anything that you want to be responsible for. When you are sane, you know. You don't want to face that part of you then. You're welcome. Listen to this tape again and again. I would suggest that this kind of teaching, that you must take a tape. Suppose it feels really something that you can read, listen to it again and again and again. And listen to it and enter into meditation and let your real life situation reveal. Just turn off. When you feel like something is touching you and revealing some of the incidents about your life that you beginning to see in a right light, then you turn it off. And then listen, just see the whole reality of how things have been happening, so that all the falsehood may drop away, and then you may become clear once again. It's like a psychic bath. With all this thinking stuff that we carry on, just washes away. See, we all the time, when we are upset, we have definite records, okay, in our stock. And when we have certain kind of situation, it's just like certain button gets pushed, and an automatic arm just moves, gets on, takes on, and stops on that broken record. And it just be the same kind of thinking. Instead, I'll suggest play my tape instead of yours. If you like it. And you can turn it off anytime you want in case you don't like me. And you don't expect that you will be 100% success. And that you intend to do it and be at ease with yourself. Don't judge yourself harshly. Don't be too ambitious. And try to do what you can. But practice it. And practice of letting go of your fears. Practice of letting go of your demands. Practice of giving that which you are demanding. And always remember the other person wants exactly what you want. And if you can be the first one to give, you become the first one to receive. And then by being able to give to the other person first, you begin to receive from within and you don't grow dependent. Now you are more free within yourself because you could give. Now you are in a giving position, not in a dependency position of asking. Even if you get it, you are a loser. Did you know that? Because if you get from somebody what you want, demand, and if they can give you, you are still a loser because you would be so afraid to lose them. You lose that source of comfort and you'll become dependent and you are sowing the seeds of unhappiness in future. So unless you become a giver, you're not a free person. So learn from this that you want to learn to give. And that's what will solve your problem. Not just with one person, but with the whole world. Your relationship